So my name is Susan, and I have 4 children in my family, and they all have disabilities and a dog called Pip. 3 of them have autism, and my eldest has dyslexia and dysgraphia and expressive language disorder. Throughout my life I've had anxiety. I didn't know it at the time, but looking back now as a child, I can see that I didn't really like going to school, and I found it sort of a challenging environment, and I think it was the anxiety back then that caused those issues for me. We found COVID quite challenging, the lockdowns and having to be at home. We sometimes needed breaks from each other and couldn't get those, and I think that was one of the hardest things. It was kind of intense all being in the house together. We didn't have sort of family or anyone within that we could access. When we had behaviours of concern, and there was physical fights that we had to break up multiple times a day. They didn't want to access the outdoors. In fact, my husband and I would sort of gear ourselves up on a Sunday and we'd get everyone out of the house. It took 2 of us to get anyone out the door. My children have demand avoidance, so whenever you place a request on them to do something, their automatic response is it's a threat response. It's they just, no, I can't. Run and hide, literally. So schooling was like trying to get them out of run and hide mode in order to get them to engage with the task. And I tried things like running by a routine, and that didn't work. That almost increased the pressure. So, for example, my son Kieran, so it worked best if I just went in the room and just said, these are your options. We can do this one or we can do that one. We're just going to spend like 10 minutes on it. And he'd spend the first 10 minutes literally rocking and vocalising and not able to make eye contact or anything. And then for 5 minutes, he'd look at it and he'd have a go. And then that would be it. So that was actually what it was on the ground in the end with him. But I also found I couldn't retain information. I was just so stressed that I would ask my child like a question I needed to know, like, do you need shoes, or I can't think of a good example, but just something that was important that I needed to know at that point in time. And I'd ask it and they'd respond, and I would have got distracted in that moment of asking and not taking their response.
I don't want to say it again.
Yeah, for Bethany, she hated that. She would not respond again. That you'd be like, no, I've told you, that's it. And I'd be like, oh no, but I really needed to know. Did you want Wheat Bix or cornflakes for breakfast? And I'd not have listened to your response. And then you'd be like,
I'm not saying it.
Not telling you now.
That still happens.
Still happens now, but I've noticed that I'm not doing that now. Like, I was just reflecting on what it was like during that time and realising, I ask a question now, I hear the response. But during COVID, all those 2 years, it got worse and worse. I just couldn't take information in.